Good morning guys, and welcome to my unboxing and review of the high-grade Chuchu Demi Trainer. This is a high-grade Witch from Mercury kit which came out in 2022. I got this kit for $18, which is fairly cheap for a high-grade, and that is for a good reason. As you can see, this is quite a thin box. This is going to be a pretty simple build, a very simple high-grade based on the high-grade Demi Trainer, which was an extremely simple kit both in and out of universe, being kind of the student trainer mobile suit when you're learning how to be a pilot in universe. This is supposed to be a customized version of it, whose main feature of course is that big new gun. There's also going to be some other additions to the armor, like you see all these kind of very kind of industrial looking bars all over the kit. The mono eye sensor is a little different. There's extra armor added in places. This is a modified version. I don't remember the exact context that it showed up in. It's been a while since I saw Witch from Mercury. I believe it's when Soletta is going to have like a big group duel with the Grassley house, I want to say, and Chuchu's Demi Trainer was a participant in it. It was very famously almost completely destroyed by the Michaelis in that duel, and I will be posing it with the Michaelis because I already have that built. So with a kind of very simple box here, let's get right into it. So taking a look at the manual first, of course we have just kind of this cropped version of the box art without the background. Use some very nice kind of like watercolor painting smudges in the background. I really like the box art style for the high-grade Witch from Mercury line. It's very nice. I wish they would use it on more high-grade boxes, but I understand why they want to keep it unique to the series. And of course we have some poses of the painted kit here. What's kind of notable is if you look at the line art here, the shade of, I don't like light beige for the main tone of the kit is very different from the line art, which is a lot darker, which is a little strange. But I guess we'll see how the actual kit looks once I've built it. But apart from that, this looks like it's going to be just a very kind of typical high-grade manual, just showing off the construction. So, inside the box we get, yep, 2 whole bags of runners. So yeah, like I mentioned earlier, that lower price tag is for a good reason. This is going to be a very simple kit, being kind of the very basic grunt suit of the Witch from Mercury series. So inside the bags, we get a whopping 4 runners inside the box. I think this might be the simplest high-grade kit I've ever built. I think the only one besides this that came close is the high-grade Wyndham, which also has a similarly very small number of runners, but at least that had like a relatively involved backpack to build. This appears like it's just going to be a very quick, simple, easy build. And that's also reinforced by the foil sticker sheet that comes in it, which is only 3 stickers for 3 different kind of camera lenses across the kit, which is always nice to see. It's very surprising that they were able to put this entire kit into 4 runners and have it ideally be almost entirely color accurate, with the only color apps that need correcting being the usual foil stickers for the cameras. So getting right into the runners, starting with runner A for this large multicolored runner coming in 3 different colors. We have white here for a lot of different armor parts and some joint parts. We see parts for the back skirts and front skirts here, some various armor parts for across the body. You see some parts for the legs here. You have some kind of inner frame parts in a kind of primer frame gray, a little lighter than like you would see in a lot of other kits. You have parts for the holding hands up here, and you have a clear green piece for the visor. Runner B is going to have most of our armor parts here in that kind of slightly green, tan color. Yeah, so you see a lot of armor parts here for the torso. You see parts for the shoulder shield, parts for the legs and the arms. I think this is a part for the head. Most of the armor parts are going to be coming from this fairly small runner. Runner C in a similar primer gray to part of runner A. For a lot more armor parts, you see parts for the hips here. You have presumably a part for the head here, and you have parts for the backpack. And a small-ish runner D1 on that same primer gray for parts for the only weapon in this kit that I'm aware of, the large gun. So you see parts for that on this runner, as well as parts for open expressive hands, which is always nice to see. Oh, and before I forget, these runners were printed in April of 2023. So with those 4 runners out of the way, I will see you after the build. Alright, welcome back. Here's Chuchu's Demi Trainer, snap built and panel lined a bit. And this kit kind of pleasantly surprised me, for only being 4 runners, how much part separation they were able to cram into this model kit. So getting right into the build, This build was fairly quick and simple, as you might have expected, coming only on 4 runners. I finished cutting out all the parts and cleaning up the nubs with a glass file in under like an hour and a half, which is remarkably fast for high grade. I wasn't going particularly fast or anything. And putting it together only took like half an hour. Panel lining took maybe another 10-15 minutes. So this is a pretty quick and easy kit if you just have like a spare afternoon or something, and you don't have enough time to get into like a more robust kit. But yeah, the build is fairly nice. The nubs are fairly thin and on edges, as per usual for a lot of modern kits. So nub cleanup, there weren't any like kind of standout like awful nubs. They all kind of go away pretty easily with just a little bit of a glass file and a buff with your fingernail. But yeah, the amount of kind of parts layering onto each other was also fairly unexpected. You see it in parts like the legs, with kind of the leg kind of being split into multiple layers, kind of slotting into each other, and then those kind of shock bars going on at the end. Things are also a lot more simple than you would expect from other Witch from Mercury high grades, of course, as you might expect. Like that backpack is just 2 halves sandwiched together, 2 discs, and then the holder. Parts for the arm, like this lower arm is I think like 3 parts sandwiched together, and then you have the kind of pale greenish yellow tan for this bottom forearm section that the shield would normally plug into on the standard Demi Trainer. But it also, like, you also have a decent amount of parts separation, like a surprising amount given how few parts there are on the runner, which is why I say it's min-maxed. So this kind of leads us into aesthetics, where you have a lot of like very nice color and part separation, and parts that you might not expect with how few parts there are in this kit. Like you see on these kind of leg booster units, you can kind of see at the inside of the unit is actually color separated in like this kind of gray frame color. You have parts like the beam Vulcans in the head being a separate part, kind of on the inside of the frame that pokes out. Same thing for these great chest details that kind of poke out from the inside. All of it's like nicely color separated, nice detail kind of poking out from the inside out, giving a more complete model that you might not expect for either this part count or this price tag. Although of course it's inflated in the States compared to what it would be overseas, given like shop markups and imports and all that. I think the yen price for this was probably around like $9 or something. It was very cheap. But that's not to say it's perfect. As much as I like kind of this aesthetic, this kind of like almost like athletic kind of look with the different color shin armor resembling kind of like athlete, like knee-high compression socks, the kind of lightness of the removed armor parts from the standard Demi Trainer, including the knee armor and the right shoulder armor, and being replaced by kind of these like shock-absorbing bars that will like cushion the blow if it crashes into something, but of course will not protect the part from any actual like weapons. As much as I like all of this color separation, all of these nice details, there are a number of issues with it, most notably the kind of primary color of this kit. I'll throw up on the screen right now both the Chuchu's Demi Trainer and the standard Demi Trainer line art, because this color is much closer to the standard Demi Trainer than the Chuchu's one. The Chuchu's one is notably like a lot darker than this, and honestly I think this color, as much as I like the Chuchu's like line art color better, this color makes a lot more sense for it to be in the kind of standard Demi Trainer color. Like the Earth House was already super pressed for money. There's no way they were going to be repainting the Demi Trainer colors in a different color just for Chuchu. Like, I get it makes sense, she is kind of their ace pilot besides Stiletto, of course. Their budget just would not allow for that. That doesn't really make sense. But aesthetically, there are also a number of issues with the there are a few minor issues with the sculpt. Besides the color, you see these kind of very nice gray kind of chest frame details poking out in the middle. Those are supposed to be more recessed in there. So it's kind of odd that they poke out all the way, so that's a sculpting error. There are a couple of hollow spaces on the kit. Under the feet, you can see there's plenty of hollow space. You can see there's some like molded detail in here, maybe for some wheel parts that are supposed to kind of give it some speed. Like this wheel dash unit on the back is color separated and part separated. That's a different color. You see what I was talking about earlier with the kind of gray detail in the boost units on the legs. But yeah, there's also some hollow parts in kind of the side of the knee. So you see kind of in the back of the knee, there's a lot of hollow detail here. And the line art that's just like filled in detail. This is supposed to be like covered up completely. It's just hollow on this model. So yeah, there's a couple of hollow parts on the bottom of the feet and the knees, and there's an error with the kind of chest detail not being as recessed as it should be. But apart from that, and the main like kind of shade of color being different from the line art, though I wouldn't say it's necessarily like worse, I think it makes more sense for it to be in this kind of standard Demi Trainer shade. But apart from that, aesthetically, this is quite a nice kit, especially for the price and the kind of limited part count of this kit. I keep bringing that up. It's just very surprising to me. I do just want to quickly point out I did do a little bit of painting on this kit. The only part I painted was kind of behind this clear piece for the visor slash like the extra sensor they bolted onto the top for use with the large beam rifle. I painted the behind of that in plated silver just to help it catch the light a little better. It doesn't really kind of work due to how kind of recessed the back of the part is compared to the front. And just going over the stickers real quick, there are only 3 color correcting stickers in this kit. They're all foil stickers for cameras. The first sticker, number 1, is this kind of rectangular bar in the torso there. And stickers 2 and 3 are both on the beam rifle for this kind of scope on the side. I don't know how well you can make that out, but you see stickers 2 and 3, one on each side of the scope. And there's one other color inaccuracy I'll mention with in the accessories part of this video, but for now, let's get into articulation. So starting with the head, as you might expect with this head design, it can't really look up or down at all. It's just kind of stuck in this this kind of vertical positioning, which is fine. I don't think anyone was expecting to be able to look up or down with how it's just a half sphere. I don't think anyone was expecting it unless they had the visor on a rail or something, which it wasn't in the show. But of course, it can rotate 360 degrees. This kind of handlebar shock bar thing on the head can move up and down, but it will be blocked by the antenna. Getting into the shoulders, for the right shoulder, of course, this bar will move up and down, and on the left side, this shield can kind of flip up a little bit, and the shoulder can rotate up a little bit on its own to give an arm raise of about 135 degrees, which is fine. The shoulder itself can swing up, as you saw on this joint of the torso. It can also swing forward a decent amount, just be careful that you don't pop it out of the torso. The arm, of course, has rotation in the upper bicep. There's also a point of rotation in the forearm on this section that the shield would normally attach into, but it's just on the shoulder on this kit. A single joint in the elbow will give a little more than 90 degree bend, not great. And of course, wrist is on a ball joint, and it will do ball joint things, although the actual ball is fairly deep into the forearm, so it won't actually get much besides rotation on this kit. The torso, you got a fairly decent stomach crunch up and down, more than I was expecting. You can get it more, but we'll talk about that in the waist section. And of course a little bit of side to side. The backpack doesn't really have any articulation besides this section for the power cable for the large beam rifle, which can rotate, of course. Now for the waist, the front skirts are on ball joints, and we'll do ball joint things. A little bit of detail on the underside, but of course not color separated. These do come together on the runner, I just snip them apart. No side skirts. And the back skirt is part of the kind of hip swing mechanism, I guess. You can kind of unclip it from the hip, and this entire platform that the torso is on can swivel forward and back to give a much better ab crunch if necessary. For legs then, for a front kick, you will get about a 90 degree bend. For a rear kick, you will get about 45 degrees. For a side raise, about 90 degrees, a little under that. Of course, rotation at the thigh. This kind of boost unit is on a bit of a rail. It can go down and up as you would like, and it can rotate. Of course, these handlebars on the knees can bend down as you want. Full double bend in the knee, which is quite nice. Going to give you about 135 degrees before the armor collides with each other. Ankle armor, the front part is on a ball joint, so it will move around a little bit, but it's not super noticeable. The feet, of course, can swivel. There is some front toe separation, so it can go down about that far, up about that far, which is fine. The ankle itself, you can't really swivel it because it's on a peg, but there is some side to side individually, so for the heel, it can go side to side. And the front can also go side to side, a pretty extreme amount. Oh, I also I thought I was missing a part for the hollow section. This kind of joint in the foot is supposed to be a solid gray piece. It is hollow, so I did miss that in the aesthetic section. But yeah, articulation in general for this kit is okay. It's a little disappointing in the arms, but the torso, especially with the hip swivel, is quite nice. The leg articulation is quite good. The head is a little lacking, but that's just part of the design, so I won't really fault the kit for that. But yeah, in general, the articulation is fine. It's just the arms that are a little disappointing. And for a quick size comparison, here's Chuchu's Demi Trainer next to a standard size high grade, being the high grade Blue Destiny Unit 1. As you can see, they are about the same height. The blade antenna on Chuchu's Demi Trainer will give it a tiny bit of extra height over it, but in general, this is a very kind of standard sized high grade. For accessories then, this is the high grade Chuchu's Demi Trainer and everything it comes with. This is a fairly, as you can see, this is a fairly minimal spread of accessories. It didn't really have that much in the show either. Of course, for hand options, you will get, besides the 2 standard holding hands on the kit, you will get 2 kind of open expressive hands. This is the one other part that I mentioned that was not color accurate. The backs of these hands are just in gray. They're supposed to be in the same kind of greenish pale tan that the rest of the kit is in. Of course, you will get this kind of power cable wire for using with the large beam rifle, which certainly lives up to its name, being taller than Chuchu's Demi Trainer itself. Of course, there's this large arm to connect it to the front of the Demi Trainer's skirt, which is where it's supposed to be at all times. It's supposed to be connected there at all times. The arm will swivel, of course, and the actual connection point can rotate. There are 2 handles on this rifle. The front one will swivel 180 degrees on the front, kind of on the bottom half of the rifle. This rear one will swivel a full 360, so the Demi Trainer can either grip it when it's on the top or the bottom. The front can rotate, but I don't think that's meant to do any kind of articulation. And yeah, this is quite a nice primary weapon for this kit, and it should be because it's the only real weapon this kit has. I will see if I can get it to kind of grip it like a bludgeoning weapon that kind of fits Chuchu's style, being a very aggressive kind of melee-oriented fighter. But yeah, this rifle is quite nice, and I guess there's a reason why they included it as part of the Demi Trainer accessory expansion set, and not just limited it to inclusion in this kit. So, with all that out of the way, let's get into some poses. So getting Chuchu's Demi Trainer into a bit of a running and relocating pose with a large beam rifle. This is a kit that, well, first off, this pose isn't super realistic for this suit. Given the kind of wheel dash units on the feet, it would kind of be sliding around on the wheels, but regardless. This is just to show off kind of the stability of the unit. You do kind of have to fiddle with the ankles a little bit to get it to hit this kind of balance, but it can hit it, and this is a kit that looks kind of good on the ground. It looks right on the ground. Given the grunty nature of the suit and the kind of almost earthy tones of its armor, it does look quite good and solid on the ground. Even if this pose isn't necessarily one that I would pose it in on the shelf. And that is shown on this kind of planted, more grounded, kneeling, upward firing pose with the large beam rifle. It does look quite good in this pose. It does hit the kneel surprisingly easily. Normally I'd have to like fiddle with the hips or whatever to get it to get a kit into this kind of pose, but Chuchu's Demi Trainer does it with aplomb. It's a remarkably solid poser, which I'm kind of surprised that is the fact, given it is a very basic kind of grunt-like suit. But regardless, this is quite a solid pose. You have the kind of shoulder shield giving it this kind of protection. You have the beam rifle just kind of showing off its sheer size. You have the kind of geometry of the unit getting to shine with how solidly planted it is on the ground. That kind of shock bar on the knee acting to reinforce the balance of it on the ground. It all looks great. This is a pose I would consider putting this kit on the shelf. And of course we have this kind of leaping, aerial, like aggressive firing pose. This also looks quite good on this kit. This is kind of as much as I talked about how good it looks on the ground, this is more of like a generalist poser. It does look quite good in the air as well, given kind of Witch from Mercury is a very kind of flighty, airborne combat oriented series with most units kind of flying around and doing all this crazy stuff. This kit does look quite good in the air, even if I think in the show it wouldn't really be kind of zipping around in the air. It does look good in the air, with this aggressive kind of forward charging, like leaping pose, firing the large beam rifle. Again, this is a kit that just kind of speaks for itself with how good it looks in a bunch of different poses. So yeah, this is a solid pose. I would consider posing it like this on the shelf. And of course, here it is squaring off with the mobile suit that does it in its first appearance, the Michaelis. This is a kind of what if scenario if Chuchu was able to close the distance, catch Michaelis off guard a little bit, and use the suit like how she wants to do it in this aggressive kind of melee strike with the large beam rifle. The support arm's disconnected, the power cable's disconnected, she's just going all in with it as a blunt weapon. I did try to get Chuchu's Demi Trainer to hold on to the large beam rifle kind of by the thin part of the barrel. It just wouldn't do it. It's too big to fit in the hands. So I had to settle for this kind of one-armed, like, very large blade swing, kind of similar to what you saw with the Huckbein Mark II Trombe, the downward swinging pose that I made with that kit. But yeah, this is a very cool kind of combat pose, like, mini diorama thing if you can set up like rubble or grass or whatever, and have a little display of it fighting the Michaelis. This is a very cool kind of way to display this kit, and definitely kind of outshines its grunt status. It looks great like this. The Michaelis is also a great design. I really like this kit. This is definitely how I'm going to pose it on the shelf. It's very cool, and this is how, like, you can see this is kind of greater than the sum of its parts, and how you can have two mobile suits, just kind of the dynamism of them in a fighting kind of stance looks much better than either of them separately would, just kind of doing a whatever action pose on the shelf. So this is a great way to kind of get the most out of your basic run suit. So in conclusion, Chuchu's Demi Trainer is a very solid high grade. It's a very good, like, kind of value bang for your buck kit. It articulates great. It looks quite solid, even though there are issues with kind of the shade of the main tone of, like, tan on the kit not matching up with the line art, and there are some hollow spaces on the kit that you will notice if you, like, work with it or get a little close to it. But overall, this kit is quite nice. I think its unique aspects with the kind of shock bars and the large rifle, and the kind of almost stripped down look of a lot of the armor on this kit, it helps it stand apart from the basic Demi Trainer in a very good way. This kit looks quite nice, and especially for the fairly cheap price in the States that you can find it at, you can pretty easily find it for under $20 at most retailers. This is an easy recommend if you like kind of this simple grunt-ish design, and is definitely a kit that you should build if you, like, don't have as much time on, like, a weekend or something to build, like, a normal kind of more involved high grade or a master grade or a real grade or something. This is a great kind of stand-in kit that won't really feel lacking despite its grunt nature. So yeah, that was my review of the high grade Chuchu's Demi Trainer. What did you think of this kit? Let me know in the comments. If you like reviews like these, please consider subscribing. If you like this video, give it a like, and I will see you next time with my review of the highly anticipated high grade G Quuuuuux. I'll see you then.